Hey guys, it's me, Darth Something, and today I'm doing a collab with the Star Wars nerd. We are gonna be talking about the sequels. Let's just get started.
First thing we'll be talking about is story. Now, for me, the story is one of my biggest problems with these films. It feels like, for me, they were just way too similar to the originals. Mostly The Force Awakens. It feels like The Force Awakens was way too similar to A New Hope. Now, I know that J.J. Abrams argued that he made this film as a soft reboot, but I've seen many soft reboot films and stuff like that, and this was not one. It was just a complete copy of A New Hope. I mean, everything in this film was the same. If you watch these films side by side, you would notice that. But overall, the story is not the only problem with these movies. It feels like all the plot twists are disappointing. And what I mean by that is Snoke's death was pretty disappointing. I mean, we got to know nothing about the new big bad of the sequels, and he just got killed. My biggest problem with the plot twists was my problem with Rey's parents. In The Force Awakens, Rey was naturally perfect at everything, and at the back of my mind I thought she must be related to some powerful Jedi or Sith or somebody, and they would explain why she was so gifted, but no, in The Last Jedi, we find out that she was just a nobody. She was just gifted to keep up the pace of the movie and not slow down with training. Now, we may find out that Kylo Ren is lying, but as of now, he is not. And yeah, and at other times the story feels rushed, like at parts with Luke and Kylo Ren's fight, and sometimes like really boring parts like Canto Bite. It's like really slowed down, and that's just really not good. And that's about all I have to say.
I think this story is pretty good. It's definitely not as good as the prequels or the originals, but I still think it's pretty good. I mean, yes, it's very similar to the originals with a big evil empire against a group of rebels, but still. Yeah. And also, the whole concept of a big empire versus a small group of rebels is the same as in the originals. I still think that the stuff that actually happens in the films, or, well, The Last Jedi, is fairly different. Does that make any sense? I don't know. So, you mentioned Snoke's death being disappointing, but I personally really loved it. It was a huge twist, and I like the fact that Kylo is now the supreme leader of the First Order. Also, you mentioned Rey's parents being nobodies. Personally, I'm a huge fan of that because it's pretty different from what we've gotten before this in Star Wars, but yeah.
Now for characters. There are not many characters I really dislike. I mean, Rey is the only one I really dislike. I mean, she's pretty much Luke Skywalker, just a female and with a British accent. And like I said before, she's perfect at everything for no reason. They don't really explain it at all, and that's why I really dislike her. Even though he's alright, I don't really like Kylo a ton. I mean, he looks cool, but he seems just too whiny to be the big villain. It seems like a ton of the drama in these movies is from Kylo whining about something, and for an antologist, that's really not a good thing. And Rose Tico. She was another character I disliked, mostly because she's useless. She does nothing in The Last Jedi, and the story could have been written fine without her. I mean, she offers nothing other than to support Finn, and that's just not really that much. She's just pretty useless. And Snoke was another bad character. He seemed in The Force Awakens like he was gonna be some dangerous big bad, but no. He was just killed by Kylo, so Kylo wouldn't have to kill Rey. That's all. I mean, to be honest, I was not surprised at all to see Snoke die. Think about it. Kylo is the main villain and Rey is the protagonist. And what is Snoke? A perfect character to be killed in the scene. So Snoke in a way was useless other than to scare us into thinking he was some dangerous second Palpatine. But one positive about these films is that, in my opinion, they do a great job at bringing back old characters like Han, Luke, and Leia. It feels like they were used well with a good amount of screen time, and for the most part, their acting was pretty good.
I think the characters are pretty good. Kylo Ren is amazing. He's probably one of my favorite characters in Star Wars. Poe is also pretty cool. I liked his arc in The Last Jedi. Finn was a pretty good character in The Force Awakens, though I have to admit he was kinda wasted in The Last Jedi. And I think Rey's alright. I don't think she's a Mary Sue. She can be a bit too powerful at times, but she's still not quite a Mary Sue, if you ask me. And while we're talking about the characters, we just have to talk about Luke. I actually really liked Luke in The Last Jedi. I thought it was very interesting what they did, and I'm also glad they gave him an actual arc instead of just having him be this flawless Jedi Master who's just, well, you get it. And I also think his death was beautiful with the twin sons and stuff. Yeah, that's what I think of Luke and the characters.
Next is effects. The effects in these movies are amazing. They almost all of them look so great. I mean, every once in a while the CGI is pretty bad, but for the most part the CGI was great. Everything looked so amazing. Everything looked so good. That's one of the greatest positives of these movies.
Oh, when it comes to effects, I think the sequels are really good for the most part, and that's basically all I have to say about that.
Now for action. The action scenes in these movies were alright, I guess, but it feels like none of these battles really last. I mean, the first time seeing them, for me, is pretty cool, but the third or fourth time, it gets pretty boring. And it feels like the other battles in the originals and prequels really seem to last, but the action in these ones really don't. And I feel like that's because they're rushed and they don't really put much effort into them. I mean, the lightsaber battle in The Force Awakens was alright, but nothing really that special. The battle with the Praetorian Guards was okay, I guess. The battle on Crate was really rushed, and the Dreadnought battle, I guess, was cool. And the battle at the end of The Force Awakens was a copy of A New Hope, and was pretty bad, but I guess alright. And there's just nothing that really seems special about these battles.
I'm actually a really big fan of the action in these movies. I think the lightsaber fights are great. I'm actually a big fan of the more realistic lightsaber fights in the originals and sequels. And space battles we've gotten are pretty cool, I think. And yeah, that's all I really gotta say about the action.
Here's what I disliked, and just simply everything I disliked. It feels like there were a lot of plot holes, like why is Rey so gifted if she's not even related to a Jedi? And why did they bring up so many characters like Snoke, Rose, Tico, the Knights of Ren and more, just to have them completely useless and offer nothing to these movies? It's just bad writing, and everything else I just discussed before, so yeah.
Alright, okay, so earlier you said that they didn't explain why Rey was so powerful, but they actually did. Remember when Snoke said the thing about Kylo's equal in the light? Yeah, so they did kind of explain why she was so powerful. Whether you like the explanation or not, it's still an explanation.
But it wasn't like fully explained, and it feels like it should have been more in-depth explained, like, oh, Rey, you're related to somebody or something like that.
I don't really think it matters if you're related to somebody. Maybe it's just me, I don't know. But what about some other stuff you don't like?
It just feels like the story in these movies are just way too similar to the originals that they're hard to enjoy.
I guess I think they're. I mean, the dialogue in these is definitely better than the prequels, at least. And the acting, I think, is pretty good. Let's talk about the twists in The Last Jedi. So Snoke's death, I actually really liked it because, I mean, it just feels like it was such a shocking moment, and yeah, I just really
I would've-
didn't expect it. What?
I would have really liked to see Snoke's death done like that, but only like after we like heard like something like who he was or something like that, not just, oh, here's Snoke and then blup, he's dead.
Well, I mean, he's a new character who just, I don't know. But I guess I can understand that. But how do you feel about the whole hyperspace ramming part?
I thought that was pretty cool, but I don't know if they should have used her to do it, because she wasn't really a favorite character. I mean, nobody really liked her. She didn't really add much to the film. She was just kind of not really, didn't really have a purpose.
I guess I can.
But
But I personally, I'm fine with it. I mean, some people say Akbar should have been there instead of Holdo, but I don't really think so. I mean, what you know.
Akbar, in my opinion, isn't all that special. I mean, all he did was say that one line, and then
Yeah, I don't know.
That's why he was
he's
so famous.
popular. I mean, he's basically a meme at best. So I don't get why people are so upset about his death. But
But I do think it should have been somebody maybe like Poe or somebody, or.
well, I don't think Poe should have died.
But it would be kind of surprising if somebody like him or Leia or somebody.
Yeah, Leia would have made sense considering she's dead, but at the same time, I don't think they wanted to. But I mean, if Leia had been in the ship, then we would have missed out on the moment with her and Luke. So, which was amazing. And so I think you mentioned that you didn't like Kylo and Luke's battle.
It felt like it was just too rushed. I mean, there was like 3 hits with the lightsaber, then like there wasn't even like, you know what I mean? Like it was just a few hits and then it's over. It felt a little bit too rushed. It would have been cool if like it lasted a little longer.
Well, I mean, I guess Luke was just trying to distract him, and since he wasn't there, I don't know if he could physically touch the lightsaber. Whatever. Okay, but how do you feel about? Well, do you think Luke should have actually been on Crate, or are you fine with him just being a force projection?
I think it was interesting to see how like angry Kylo was. He didn't really notice Luke like showing the signs. He was still like trying to like get him down. I know I've seen a lot of other YouTubers say that, and it kind of agree. Like it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. I think it would have been kind of.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Some people even say he should have been there and taken down the walkers with the force, but that would have just been so stupid. Cool. I don't know if it would have been cool. It would just been goofy, I think. But now, I think we both can agree that Yoda's scene is at least really good.
Yeah, I guess it was pretty good.
Yeah, but Canto Bight. We gotta talk about Canto Bight. Canto Bight was not the greatest. I'll admit that.
Yeah, it's like the aliens and like it seemed way too long. They should have like took more time for other stuff.
Yeah. And what's other than Canto Bight, and other than the stuff you've already talked about, what else do you not like about the sequels?
I just don't like how they some stuff with like the Force. I think they kind of messed up the Force at certain parts. I mean, it may seem cool, but I like the way it was in like the originals. Like, it just seemed to like make a lot more sense. And now it's just kind of confusing and weird. It is cool, but it just doesn't really seem to fit what they like said in the originals.
I guess I can understand that. You mean with the whole balance thing, or well, Luke said, balance be powerful, dark and light.
Yeah.
I guess I can understand that. Personally, I kind of like what they did with the Force, but Starkiller Base, obviously, is not the greatest. That's one of the few things in The Force Awakens that I think was just too similar.
I mean, everything about The Force Awakens was just way too similar to A New Hope. I mean, it was executed differently, but
Yeah, it had
still had the exact.
I think.
Still had a similar story.
Yeah. It did. But how do you feel about Luke tossing the lightsaber away?
I didn't really think much about it. I was like, oh, I think he's just done with like stuff like that. I didn't really give it much thought, but it was kind of like weird how he just kind of gave up all on the Force. But it didn't really bother me, to be honest.
Oh, okay. I will admit that at times the humor was a bit too much in The Last Jedi. I mean, well, I don't know about too much, but it felt out of place at times. Felt like it.
At certain points, it felt kind of like the humor from Thor Ragnarok to me.
Yeah, a bit. But I'm fine with it, with most of the humor. It's just a few parts that felt kind of out of place. And
It didn't really bother me, though.
oh, okay. So, what do you think about the whole more realistic lightsaber duels compared to the prequels?
You know, I like the prequel lightsaber battles, but I like them both. I like kind of like both styles, like both like more realistic and more like. I actually like them both. I didn't really hate the one from The Force Awakens, and I don't mind the prequels. They're both fine to me. I don't really mind either of them.
I agree. So, what do you think about the acting from the new cast?
You know, I think it's alright for the most part. The only acting that I didn't really like was like ones like Rose Tico. It didn't seem like the best. It was just kind of not the greatest to me.
Okay. What do you think about all the planets and locations in the sequels?
You know, they're pretty cool. I like most of them other than, like I said, I think Canto Bight is a really cool looking planet, but they seem to like mess it up with the casino, and it kind of reminded me a little bit, like kind of like a copy of Bespin a little bit. Like kind of like...
Okay. Personally, I think the planets in The Force Awakens are alright. But the ones in The Last Jedi are really good. I think Crate is a pretty great planet. Canto Bight, I actually think is a pretty cool place. I mean, I don't like the side quest there with the loop with Finn and Rose, but still like the idea of like a casino and stuff in Star Wars, kind of. And Octo is pretty cool. And yeah, Starkiller Base is way too similar to the Death Star though. I mean, the second Death Star was pushing it, but third one really. But I don't think they're gonna have a new one in Episode 9, hopefully. One thing a lot of people say is kind of disappointing with the sequel trilogy is the music. How do you feel about the music?
I mean, I like a lot of the songs, like Kylo Ren's theme and like some of the other songs. But none of them seem to be very memorable, like the Duel of the Fates or like the Force theme or the Imperial March or like the stuff like that. It just seems like nothing really sticked out for me.
Okay, I think the music in the sequels is actually pretty underrated. I don't think it's as good as the prequels or originals, but still really good. Rey's theme, I think, is really good. March of the Resistance, Kylo Ren's theme. Yeah, I really like the music in the sequels. Oh, and the music when Luke goes out there on Crate as Force projection, preparing to fight Kylo. That music was really good, I think.
I mean, the music was good, but it wasn't great to me. Like, it was alright. Like, nothing stuck out.
Oh, and the Jedi steps. Oh, yeah. But, yeah. How do you feel about Anakin's lightsaber being destroyed in Episode 8?
Well, that really didn't bother me, like, super much, but it was, I didn't really care. It was like, it's been around for a while, so it's kind of an heirloom type of thing, but, yeah, it just didn't really bother me a ton, but what I'd like to know is how, like, they got the lightsaber, kind of, because it got dropped down that pit.
Well, in Battlefront 2, there's a Bespin mission, and there's these kind of things, I forgot what they're called down there on Bespin, but Maybe it landed on one of those things. I don't know what they're called. If you played Battlefront 2's campaign, you probably know what I'm talking about. Or maybe you don't, I don't know. But, yeah, I don't really know how they found the lightsaber, but they'll probably tell us in a book or something.
Yeah. That's all I really care about with the lightsaber. I mean, it being destroyed was a little bit disappointing because it was so special.
Yeah.
But it's still...
Yeah, what? Were you gonna say something?
Huh?
Oh, never mind. So, how do you... Okay, I know you don't like Rey being a nobody, but other than the whole thing with her being powerful, why else don't you like her being a nobody?
It just didn't make much sense for her to be so powerful and not like even being remotely related to anybody special, unless she's kind of like Anakin and kind of like was like put with like,
Well, she was,
you know what I mean, like
vessel, I guess. I guess she probably was, except, well, I mean, not the chosen one, but
mhm.
and I guess she was Kylo's equal in the light. Oh wait, I just realized. How do you feel about Rey beating Kylo in Episode 7?
What I would have liked to see is kind of like her kind of like trading a little bit, but it was pretty cool to see her take him down. But it didn't mean kind of like, oh, Kylo Ren isn't that all that great of a villain, so we don't really have much to fear him. He was beaten by an untrained girl, so
I think that I'm fine with her beating him, because, I mean, he was wounded, he had just killed his father, and, yeah. So I'm fine with her beating him. Plus, he wasn't even trying to kill her, since he was trying to kind of turn her over, bring her to Snoke and stuff.
yeah. It just seemed like if Kylo Ren was like somebody that was supposed to be like the villain, he should have at least like done a little better.
Yeah, I guess I can understand that. But he was kind of dominating her until, you know, right at the clip. Whatever. What more can we really talk about? I don't think there's that much more to talk about.
Mhm.
Leia flying in space, I just realized. What do you think about that?
When I was watching the movie, it didn't really bother me. I didn't think much about it. It made sense because she is like one with the Force, but it was kind of weird.
Okay. So, in the end, you don't really like the sequels, right?
They're not really my favorite. They kind of like, they're just not the greatest.
Okay. Well, I definitely disagree on that, but yeah, whatever. So yeah, I guess that's probably gonna be it for this video. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like. Also make sure to check out the Star Wars Nerd, and maybe subscribe to me too if you haven't already. And yeah, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you always.